Hello, we are live. Welcome to 88.9 KSTM's The Reseller Show here on Thursday, not September. What am I talking about? It's November. Man, I am getting my dates mixed up. We're in September 11th or September. Jeez. It's only the start of the morning, isn't it? Okay, it's November 11th. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you to all who are currently serving and who have served. Today's reseller show, we do have a guest, and that guest is Miss Ivy. Hello?
Hello, I'm here.
Okay, there we go. I can hear you. So, today I wanted to ask you a couple other questions that I had thought about previously. And anybody watching YouTube, if there's anybody on YouTube, you can always leave a comment and we can try to get to them and see. Whoops. There we go. We can see if anybody has any comments to answer. So today I want to ask you, this past week, have you bought anything recently to resell?
Recently. Well, I bought some miscellaneous jewelry boxes online, and I'm waiting for them to get shipped so I can see what's in them and have fun going through them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You never know what you're gonna find.
Yeah, myself, I actually bought quite a bit. On Goodwill, I think I probably bought what was it, like over 180 pounds of jewelry.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun box to go through for sure. Well, it's actually 3 boxes, I guess, but they'll be definitely fun to go through.
Yes.
So do you have any shows planned at all as you get close to
Well,
the holiday?
let's see. The first weekend in December, Saturday and Sunday, I'll be at the state fairgrounds at the Cattle Barn building for the flea market that's there monthly. And there's 3 large rooms. And then in January, the middle of January, the 15th and the 16th, I'll also be back at the flea market at the fairgrounds, but they'll be moved to the newly renovated 4-H building, which is a brighter, nicer building. And I'm so glad that they're moving it to the 4-H building for 2022.
Well, that's very cool. Also happening at the fairgrounds this weekend, I know Junk Jubilee is happening. That is tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. I think it's what, $10 to get in to that show, something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, that's a fun show. I know there's a couple of our reseller friends that are doing it, and it's a lot of vintage stuff there, a lot of holiday decor and anything you need for your home decor projects. So, what has gone on Macari this week? Have you sold much?
Let's see. I sold a ring. I sold some jewelry. I just listed some new items on Macari. I listed more jewelry. I listed some new clothing, brand new with tags, different sizes. So, yeah, I've been busy listing on the Macari shop.
Well, that's pretty cool. I haven't done much of Facebook Marketplace at all. It's pretty much because I've been busy with classwork and stuff. But so, I was gonna do this later in the show, but I think I'm gonna actually do it right now. I was looking online, and I'm gonna read this from antiques.lovetoknow.com, and one of their articles is by Amy Hoover, and it is the most collectible vintage costume jewelry brands.
Oh.
It's definitely one of the most interesting articles I've read. The first one here, and we're gonna get your thoughts on all these different brands too once I read these little paragraphs. But I'm gonna read you this paragraph here. This is Carnegie. So Hattie Carnegie was an immigrant to the U.S. from Austria. Her jewelry designs feature Swarovski crystals, gold mesh, florals, and animals. The Carnegie logo is stamped on pieces made both by her company and those commissioned outside her company. The logos may simply be her name, her initials, or even Miss Hattie. A set of 3 sea bead pins were sold on live auctioneers for $200. So what do you think of Hattie Carnegie?
I think that's a good name to find if you're looking for signed pieces of jewelry. Yeah, I found one piece that was signed Hattie Carnegie earlier this year. Yeah, it's already sold. So.
Yeah. Her jewelry is definitely abstract. It's definitely different. It's more of a contemporary, but also a vintage style, if you know what I
Yes.
mean. Um, what else? The next one is Coco Chanel.
Yeah, she was pretty famous.
Oh yeah, and she still makes jewelry, but paragraph here says Coco Chanel's 1920s creation of statement jewelry and accessories that were more artful than expensive kicked off the fashion jewelry craze. Coco Chanel costume jewelry is Coco Chanel costume jewelry is a classic brand iconified by gorgeous brooches and in later years gold-plated and faux pearl pieces. Vintage Chanel pieces sell for several hundreds of dollars, especially necklaces. Look for the backwards and forward C letters with overlapping backs. What do you think of Chanel?
Chanel's a good brand to find too. Yeah, not only jewelry but other accessories as well.
Yeah, it's crazy how Chanel can go from the 1920s jewelry look, and then now they're just crazy with purses and perfumes and shoes, and I mean everything is Chanel right now.
Yep, it's a very well-known company.
So the next one, this one's Coro. And basically, Coro was started by Emmanuel Cohn and Carl Rosenberger. Although they employed designers to create the jewelry, the company went through several name changes from Coro, Corocraft to Vendome, and most pieces were marked with Coro. I find this interesting because the Vendome pieces, I never knew that was Coro. I never knew that the Vendome company, I thought that was their own company, but it was just a offset of Coro, basically. What do you think on that?
Yeah, Coro and Vendome, they were they were more affordable for the general public than some of the other brands you've mentioned. Yeah, they were mass produced. There's a lot of them around. They're collectible today. I mean, almost any mid-century or earlier jewelry is collectible, especially if it has a designer name on it.
Yeah. Next one is Dior, Christian Dior. This one's an interesting one because their jewelry, Christian Dior didn't make hardly any jewelry. They had different divisions of it. So what it says in the paragraph is their divisions of Dior was including Kramer, Henkel, and Grosset, and a whole bunch different more. I never knew, again, that Kramer was a division of Dior. What do you think on that?
That's interesting. I don't think I knew about that tidbit either, but Dior and Kramer, they're really upscale brands. You know, Dior's fashion and accessories in addition to some jewelry. Kramer made a lot of nice jewelry. I especially like their prong set rhinestone sets that they made mid-century. They're just really attractive, highly collectible today.
Yeah, the Kramer jewelry sets, those things are expensive.
Yep.
Another one of my favorite brands and like one of the best rhinestone brands out there. The next one is Eisenberg. So Jonas Eisenberg immigrated to Chicago and began a clothing company. And with each of his clothing pieces came a jewelry accessory. And the costume jewelry became popular enough to be sold separately by his sons, and the clothing line was eventually discontinued. Now, their enamel and rhinestone Christmas tree pins were very popular. That is what they made the most of. And I know I've had Eisenberg Christmas tree brooches before, but you don't hardly find them too often.
No. If you can find a multicolored prong set rhinestone Christmas tree brooch, that's a pretty good thing to find at a at a flea market or a rummage sale. Those are highly collectible.
Even if it's marked Eisenberg or not.
Yeah.
Sometimes the off-brand ones could be, through the roof, but anyway, next brand. Again, another one of my favorite brands, Hobei. What do you think about the whole Hobei jewelry? Most of their jewelry is, tasseled, beaded, and having floral designs is what this author describes their jewelry at. The marks for the jewelry have changed differently. They featured the capital H's all the way to the lowercase b's. What do you think?
Oh, they're an interesting company. A lot of unique designs in their jewelry. I have a couple of pieces that have the capital H and then the OBE. Yeah, they're pretty good company.
Yep. Okay. Miriam Haskell. This one is a different kind of a brand because they do with a lot of faux beads and pearls and Swarovski crystals. It says in here that Miriam Haskell's jewelry highlighted floral designs using Swarovski crystals, faux beads, and other popular materials of the time, many utilizing nature for their designs. Of this jewelry maker, and pieces can be worth anywhere from 150 to 400. I think that's a little excessive, but who knows? Haskell was not a designer, but instead hired experts to make the pieces. Few costume jewelry designs in this brand carry a maker's mark. If there is one, it is rare and features a horseshoe. Otherwise, it would be identified as Haskell name. So it would either say Haskell or Miriam Haskell on the brooch or necklace or whatever you're using. What do you think about Miriam Haskell?
Oh, I think that's one of my favorite brands. It's just so hard to find pieces with her name on it anymore. But I do have a story about Miriam Haskell jewelry. When I was a little girl, my father bought a Miriam Haskell brooch at a garage sale for $2. It was a huge flower brooch with dangling seed pearls and prong set clear rhinestones throughout. It was gorgeous and beautiful. And eventually we sold it at an antique show for $120.
Wow.
Yep.
And how long ago was that?
That was, had to be the late 1980s, early 1990s.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, next jewelry brand on here is Schiaparelli. Before I read the paragraph, I want to think of what you think of Schiaparelli because I know this is one of your favorites.
Schiaparelli makes some gorgeous pieces with big, colorful stones. They were very popular mid-century, 1960s. They used stones, what you'd call a watermelon color, where it's like a multicolored glass faceted stone, and sometimes they would use the Rivoli stones, which is what you would call an inverted faceted stone, where the pointy tip would be at the top of the jewelry and the wider edge would be at the bottom within the prongs.
Yeah, and I know because you were talking about my bracelet I saw. I mean, I was just listening to you talking. It made me think about that bracelet I had. Yep. I had a Schiaparelli watermelon tourmaline bracelet with of course, the inverted rhinestones. But I just thought, it was like the prettiest thing to find, and I found that at a private sale that someone sold me some of that jewelry. But what it says here on the website is that Eliza Schiaparelli started as a fashion designer, but also made costume jewelry pieces as well. Often her pieces were surrealist, and most of her famous ones were part of the Shocking Pink collection. Large pieces, nature, and animals also factored in. Early 1900s pieces were not signed, while later ones had her last name. Though Schiaparelli quit making jewelry in the 1950s, it was manufactured through the 1970s since the company name and rights were sold. So there's a little bit of info on Schiaparelli. Next one is probably one of the most common jewelry names you'll see out there, and it is Trifari. What do you think of Trifari?
Trifari is highly sought after, especially their older pieces with the rhinestones and the beads. But the silver tone and gold tone is still collectible. They made a wide variety of styles, a lot of mid-century, just really pretty jewelry. It lasts a long time. If you take care of it, it doesn't tarnish. It's good quality jewelry.
Yeah, so Trifari's got two different kinds of Trifari. The older Trifari is marked Crown Trifari, which will have a crown symbol above the T. And then the common, more contemporary Trifari is just marked Trifari. Trifari, holy cow. It's marked Trifari without the crown. So like it says here, Trifari is still production today through the Liz Claiborne Company. So Trifari sold the rights and Liz Claiborne Company bought them and now makes Trifari pieces, which I think is interesting. Let's see, it says here rare and well preserved Trifari pieces and collections go from anywhere between 600 and 2 grand. Depends what kind of collection. I just think that's crazy. Let's see. So the next brand, let's talk about Sarah Cove here for a minute. What do you think about Sarah Cove?
Sarah Coventry was heavily produced. Lots of gold tone, silver tone, some stones and colors. Very popular in the 1970s. They had a catalog where you could order from, and they had representatives. Nowadays, people like to collect Sarah Cove, and it's become a thing on the internet. There's even a couple of sites where you can look up Sarah Coventry jewelry and each piece and see what it's worth. There's a lot of Sarah Coventry jewelry out there. You just have to take good care of it, because over time, the metal finishing can rub off. It's not as upscale a brand, for instance, as Chanel is or Dior, but there's a lot of it out there. So chances are you can find some.
Yeah. I know your mom was an Avon seller. Do you want to talk about Avon?
Yeah, Avon made a lot of jewelry in addition to their cosmetics and other things. My mother sold Avon in the 1980s for, at least about 20 years, 25 years. And she would collect some Avon jewelry that I inherited. And so I have a little collection of that. They made some decent pieces. That's also collectible today, just like Sarah Coventry's collectible. They're around the same quality. There's a lot to pick from with Avon, and it's pretty inexpensive. Lots of gold tone, silver tone. They did a lot of themes. It's some pretty stuff that Avon made. I like their rings. They made lots of pretty rings.
And I know Avon, each year they would have a holiday, like one of their big holiday brooches would be like a promotional item. And I think it was 2008, I want to say 2007 or 2008, they came out with this big, huge red rhinestone flower brooch, which you actually bought from me, but it is missing one stone, I do believe.
But I'll fix
it. But there was this one big red flower brooch that I really like, that Avon made. And it's probably one of my favorite promotional pieces that they made.
They also made Christmas trees and dated them. I think I have the 2007, 2008 Christmas tree brooches.
Yeah. So I went to Walmart last night, and in the pouring rain, obviously. I was looking for those clearance items. When I went to Walmart, there wasn't many clearance items. Like, most of the clearance items were probably cosmetics and, stuff with expiration dates that aren't really going to be good. And I was walking down the aisle, and I come to the toys. Most of the toys on the clearance there were like $40 each, or 20 or 40, something like that. But then at the very end of the at the very end of the aisle there, they had 2 Lego sets that were marked down clearance to $10 each. And so I bought both of them. Those are probably $20, $25 sets. So I'll make half my money. Well, I'll double my money back. But have you done any retail arbitrage at all?
Oh gosh, not lately. Let's see. I know in the past I've always tried to go after holidays because you can get great deals on holiday clearance after Halloween, Christmas, Easter, Valentine's. That's a good time to shop. If you want candy or decor or anything like that.
Yeah, I always like going to TJ Maxx after the holidays because they always, after Christmas is done, they always have a big toy clearance. And it's like on
Mm-hmm.
the final days of their toy clearance, they mark all the toys down to like 50 cents to $5. I mean, their toys are cheap at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, we got a couple people in the YouTube chat. If you guys are listening, you can always hop onto the YouTube side of this and type in some questions and we can answer them. I've got Miss Ivy here on the line. And you want to talk about your shops and what shops you're in?
Okay. I have a booth in the Antiques Iowa shop in Story City, right off of I-35. I've got some jewelry there and decor, books. I've got artwork, accessories, knickknacks, all kinds of stuff. I have a small case in brass armadillo here in Des Moines off of I-80, and I've got some glassware there and some more jewelry, and I've got toys there, some Fisher Price. That's highly collectible now too, is old vintage Fisher Price toys. And I have a booth at Memory Lane in Valley Junction on 5th Street. And I've got lots of pretty colored glassware there and some little tractor toys. I've got lots of costume jewelry hanging on the wall there. Some little small decor and little vintage toys. I've got some Pyrex bowls and some Longaberger baskets there as well. Quite a nice variety in that booth.
And then you wanted to also talk about the online shops? I think you've got a couple.
Yes. I have a shop on Etsy and a shop on Mercari, both called Miss Ivy Vintage Market. There's jewelry and new clothing and other miscellaneous items, primarily jewelry.
So it's just Mercari you sell on and Etsy?
Yes.
Okay. I found a couple more jewelry brands. What do you think of Weiss?
Weiss is very pretty. I love Weiss jewelry. So many rhinestones, prong set rhinestones. I just love the quality. And anytime I can find Weiss jewelry at a reasonable price, I'll buy it.
Okay. So we have a couple questions. Thank you so much, everyone listening in YouTube. How do you source for the buy it now specials that I do? Okay, this is a great question. On my YouTube channel, I do buy it nows. They're all $5 each. Any jewelry in the video will be $5 a piece. So the way I source that is I get it all from Goodwill boxes. I'm gonna be 100% completely honest. That's how I get my buy it now video items. I buy them big bulk boxes and then I go through it and I pick out which ones would be perfect for the video. Um, let's see. We also have another question. Is there a specific bolo that you haven't found yet for jewelry? What do you think?
Explain that to me.
Yeah. Is there a specific bolo that BOLO that you haven't found yet for jewelry?
And explain what bolo means so everyone will know.
Well, I don't even know what bolo means. That's why I passed the question to you.
Well, that's a cool question. Need to know the complete meaning of that term so I can answer it.
When we get the answer here, or the answer to the question, we'll find out. But I'm pretty sure it's a style of jewelry, isn't it?
Did you say BOLO?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have to know more about that.
Isn't it like a style of jewelry, like kind of like?
I thought that's BOHO.
Oh, I thought that was BOLO. Oh, be on the lookout.
Oh, see, I'm not up to date with all these abbreviations online.
Yeah, neither am I. I know a couple, but I didn't know be on the lookout. That's what that meant. Okay, so let's rephrase this question on to you. Is there a specific be on the lookout that you haven't found yet for jewelry?
Um, well, all these past few years, it's just very hard for me to find Miriam Haskell jewelry. I'd love to find more of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd like to find more Weiss pieces.
Yep, that too.
Yeah, so the other companies I found, where was it? It was right here. The Weiss company. What'd you think of Weiss?
Very good company. Very good quality jewelry. Awesome prong set rhinestone brooches and all that kind of stuff. Rhinestone necklaces. I just love it.
I am reading from the howtobuyvintagejewelry.com. That's an interesting website. And this is what they say about Weiss. One of the most popular and collectible names in costume jewelry. Weiss was created in 1942 by a former Coro employee, Albert Weiss. Weiss is known for its exceptional quality and elegant rhinestone pieces, including necklaces, brooches, bracelet, and earrings. They are also known for their use of smoky rhinestones and enamel work. In 1971, the Weiss Company went out of business, making their jewelry very collectible. Because they were so popular, Weiss reproductions are common. For this reason, you must be diligent in researching a piece before you buy it. Real Weiss pieces have smooth backings, whereas fakes will often have textured backings. Weiss stamps are usually strong with clear letterings. So there's some info. I don't know if you knew any of that about Weiss.
Yes, all the Weiss pieces I found had the smooth backings, not the textured backings.
Yeah. Next company, what do you think of Lisner?
Lisner is very similar to Coro. They were mass produced and they're very affordable for the general public, and they're collectible now since they don't hardly make them anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah,
they use a lot of rhinestones that are paste in rather than prong set.
I know Lisner that they use a lot of thermoset.
That too, yep.
I know Lisner made a lot of thermoset and they made a lot of stone jewelry. So, a couple more questions on YouTube. Let's see what we got. Have either of you found Cartier or Tiffany?
I have not. I've seen a lot of fake Tiffany around, but I've never personally bought a real piece of Tiffany or Cartier.
Myself, I found a fake Cartier bracelet once with the little pen thing. It was like it was in the red box and like a little pen thing. And I've only found one real Tiffany piece that I sold a long time ago, but it was like a mesh ring and it was real Tiffany and I sold it. So other than that, I've always found fake Tiffany stuff, which doesn't really go well. Someone asked, I don't know anything about jewelry, but have a bit in my death pile that came in mixed bulk buys. So is it easy to research or be better just to lot it up to move it?
If it were me, I would research it because you might have something really valuable and you might not know it. And there's lots of markings that you could look up online and just see what they mean. I mean, like when I was a kid and I was buying and selling, I didn't know a lot of the markings on jewelry. For instance, like if you found a necklace or a bracelet or a ring and it said 585 on it, I wouldn't know at that time that meant that it's 14 karat gold. Well, that 750 stamp on a piece means 18 karat gold. I wouldn't have known that back then, but it's good to do research, and it won't take you too long to do some research. And then if you find out you don't have anything too valuable, you can go ahead and lot it up then, and you would have done your research and you'd feel okay about it.
Yeah, pretty much stole my answer. I would say research it. You make sure you have good eyesight though, because some of those markings can be very, very tiny. Another question. This question always gets me because I love when people ask this. What's the difference between brooches and pins?
Well, pins are brooches, but not all brooches are pins.
That's exactly what I thought you were going to say.
A brooch, it has a certain, it has a back to it that's like a bar pin. I forget the terms that you need for that, but for instance, a tack pin or a hat pin with a little tack thing in the back, it looks like a thumbtack, and you put the little cover over it. That's not a brooch. That's a pin. But it's okay to call brooches pins, but you don't want to call pins brooches.
Yes. If anyone's confused out there, brooches are pins, but pins aren't brooches. That's what we're saying. I don't know if that's confusing to somebody or not, but
yeah.
Someone said I've heard of Coventry. It didn't sell for me that well, but I think it depends on the style. Never heard of Kovo. Oh, we were talking about Coro, Coro. That's a nice vintage jewelry brand. Let's go back to these jewelry companies I was looking at. I did see one. Oh, here you go. Here's one of the ones that you've had, and I think you still have a brooch from this company, Boucher.
Boucher, yes.
Boucher. I say Boucher. But
I say Boucher, you know.
Yeah. What do you think?
But, I like some of their brooches. They have a number on their brooches. On the back of the brooch, there's a number, and then there's their name, Boucher. And they're highly collectible. Everyone is a little unique. And like an ordinary brooch, for instance, it might be $5. It could be bumped up to, say, $50 if it's a Boucher. And they use real cultured pearls and really good metal, and it's good quality jewelry.
Mm-hmm. I got someone in the chat saying Boucher is so underrated.
Yeah, it is.
It definitely is. I'm going to read you the paragraph from the howtobuyjewelry.com. Marcel Boucher started a jewelry designer for Cartier. He was a designer for Cartier. Boucher founded his own company in 1937 and made a name for himself by creating imaginative and bold enameled pieces that were individual works of art. He created brooches shaped like fruits, animals, and human figures. The most valuable jewelry from the line of Boucher's fantasy is his bird pieces from the 1940s. And I think I have a flower Boucher brooch, which is probably worth around 60 or 65, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Question here. How do you know if something is a tie tack or a lapel pin?
Well, that's a good question because, I mean, a lot of them could be interchangeable. A lot of tie tacks will have a little chain attached to them as well. Yeah. That the person would use to attach to their tie. It would come with a little chain on it, like a 2-inch chain.
Yeah. Do either of you repair any broken jewelry you get from the boxes?
I'll do easy repairs if something's needing a stone and I have the right stone and I've got the jeweler's glue, then I can repair that. But if it's anything to do with metal or welding, I don't do that at all. I figure I do better just putting all the nicer broken pieces in a lot and selling them on Mercari. That's been working out good for us.
What I normally do is I have a rule to myself. If the piece, if I know I can sell that piece for $20 or more, I'll spend hours fixing it. I mean, if it takes hours, I'll spend hours, but I'll set it out and I'll know to fix that, whether if I have to, weld the metal together or if I have to fix a stone or I have to add in a prong or something. If I know I can get the piece for $20 or more after I repair it, then I know I will repair it. But if it's worth less than $20, I'm just going to put it in a grab bag and say, here, have someone else take it, Someone said, oh, that helps. I was wondering why some had a chain on the back. Now I know. So there you go.
Yep.
Oh, we got an awesome question. What sells better, pins or brooches?
depends who your audience is. For me, brooches by far sell better and more dollars per piece than pins.
And I think brooches sell better because it's bigger. People like the fashion and they like to put it, big brooches on their shoulder because sometimes people like shoulder brooches, or they'll just put it right up in front of their chest and have like a normal brooch that goes on your shirt there. They also said what style of brooch or pin is a bestseller. For example, animals, flowers, etc.
That's hard to say because there's so many different viewpoints out there. Some people collect certain brooches, like they'll collect bird brooches. Someone will collect owl brooches. Someone likes abstract geometric brooches. Someone likes rhinestone brooches, no matter what shape they are. So it varies. It varies what people will buy.
Yeah. The other question we have, well, actually, I'm going to answer that one. I think it's tough to say. Like you said, some people have different opinions on this. I think the best is probably animals. I think we sell the most animals out of any kind of brooch currently. Because I know people in Macari like animal brooch lots, which is interesting. But we do have another question. Are you fans of Juliana? The pieces are nice, but I don't get the hype. You want to answer that?
Juliana, yeah, she's makes some beautiful rhinestone, colorful brooches and jewelry, necklaces, and so forth. But for me, they're kind of out of my price range for what I need to spend in order to resell. But they are beautiful.
And I'm going to make a comment here. Juliana is not a company. Juliana just made pieces for companies. It was like her own style of making the pieces. I know I've have a few Juliana pieces myself, and one of our reseller friends has like 5 whole glass cases full of Juliana stuff. Which, when you look at their glass cases, it's mind blowing. I mean, it's seriously one of the craziest cases I've ever seen with all these pretty rhinestone pieces and whatnot. Someone said brooches with crystal, glass, or rhinestones sell great.
Yep, they do.
They definitely do. Any rhinestone, people go for the bling. I've noticed that on YouTube auctions. It's not, just the vintage, it's the bling. It doesn't matter if it's a new brooch made like in 2018 or if it's a brooch made in like 1926. It's it's just the bling. That's all people want, is how pretty it is. Ooh.
And I care more about the age. I go a lot more for vintage and the quality that vintage jewelry has, and I don't really go for the newer stuff that's in stores now, even though it might be blingy.
Yeah. Do you feel like the brands or designs matter the most for sell, though? I'll sell through.
Yeah, well, I have certain customers, they'll only buy particular brands. Other customers will just buy according to the style, so it kind of evens out in the end.
Yeah. Most people that I know that buy from me look for certain brands, but there are some people who just want the style. Like they're looking for a Victorian style or an Edwardian style. Some people are looking for, the 1940s, 50s jewelry. Some people are looking for like the big rainbow jewelry and big bulky stuff from the 70s, 80s.
Yep.
If you had to choose, here's a if you had to choose question. AB crystal beads or wooden beads?
Oh, AB crystal for sure.
Yeah. AB crystal is way prettier than wooden beads. And not only that, but they're definitely worth more. Now, they're not worth a whole ton, but like a strand of AB beads is probably worth like $5 to $10.
At least.
Yeah, if you bought a strand or whatnot. Let's see. I think we've been through those companies. Here we go. Florenza. Let's go back to the jewelry companies here. What do you think about Florenza?
Florenza's had some pretty things, colorful, a lot of whimsical, floral, animal. This really cool brand. Lots of fun pieces they made.
Yeah, and on the website here, It says Florenza was founded in 1948. They specialized in gold-plated metal bracelets, brooches, rings, necklaces, and earrings in the Victorian Revival and Renaissance styles. They are known for their cameos, which are hand-carved into glass, shell, resin, and often in a design that was branded as Wedgwood Mocha. Florenza designed its own jewelry as well as manufactured jewelry for Coro and Weiss. Now, Florenza, they made a lot of cameos. I know that. I've had plenty of Florenza cameos that I've sold before. Most of them
Mhm.
coming with faux pearls. That's definitely one. Now, we talked a little bit about this, but I want to mention the Kramer brand. And Kramer, they made a lot of pieces, but I want to specifically say in the 50s and 60s, Kramer produced jewelry for Christian Dior. And I think we kind of talked about that back when we were talking about Christian Dior, but it is one of the most collectible pieces from the brand. What do you think about Kramer?
Kramer's awesome, wonderful rhinestone sets, and just I buy it when I can find it.
Okay, I'm looking at the chat here. We do have another question. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
What platform do you feel is better to sell costume jewelry on?
Well, I can only go by the platforms I've tried. I've never sold anything on eBay. Like, for instance, I bought stuff on eBay, but I've never sold there, never sold on Amazon. I've sold on Etsy and Mercari. And Mercari is great for selling all kinds of jewelry, lots or single items. Etsy is good for, I like to put my single items on Etsy. I'll put lots on Etsy if it's all vintage because they're more specific. They only want vintage stuff on there rather than the newer things. So, but I've had success on both Etsy and Mercari. Mercari is just easier to list on, so I have more things on Mercari.
Yeah, and here's what I'm gonna say about it. Facebook Marketplace is probably the worst place to list jewelry because I haven't sold. I mean, I've listed plenty of jewelry on there, and I haven't sold any of it on Facebook Marketplace. Mercari is good, like you said, for the lots. I'll agree with that. Etsy again is good for the vintage, but if you've got any pieces that are $100 or more, I would highly suggest Ruby Lane. Ruby Lane is definitely one of those higher end websites that the prices on there are ridiculous, but it is one of those websites that is just the most crazy expensive jewelry and the most prettiest things I've ever seen on there. And yeah, someone said that I think I've had better luck on jewelry with auctions. And yeah, that is true because people on the YouTube auctions definitely want to buy jewelry, that's for sure.
It's funny because it's just so varied what one's experience could be, because sometimes I'll offer up things on auction. I won't get any bids. I'll put it on Mercari and I'll get more than I thought I would, or I'll have something on Mercari that didn't sell, and then it'll go for bigger bucks on the auctions. It's really funny.
Mm-hmm. Well, one
you
thing...
mentioned cameos before. Cameos are really neat. And there's different types of cameos. There's genuine shell cameos that are the best quality, or there's the acrylic or plastic cameos that were mass produced that are still looking pretty good, but they're not the genuine shell that you really want to look for, especially if they're encased in gold filled or sterling.
Yeah, and one of the things, going back to talking about YouTube auctions, I've noticed, unless if it's a really, really, really good lot or if it's a really good piece, I've noticed nobody wants to bid $20 or more for pieces. And that's, I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of why I stopped doing auctions, because I found out by listing stuff on Mercari and taking things to vintage and antique shows, I know I can sell it higher. But these $5 buy it now, so it's a great way to get rid of my excess inventory. I've got so much that I'm giving good deals at $5 buy it now videos. So,
and they're still good pieces.
And oh yeah, they're great pieces. I just think, if you do if you do a YouTube auction, you got to make sure you got a good quality camera so everyone can see your pieces well. You got to make sure your internet is up to speed because your computer or whatnot won't take the internet and your screen will just be fuzzy and whatnot. So, going back to the vintage jewelry, you ever heard of Barclay?
I've heard of it, yes.
You know what Barclay jewelry is?
Oh, it's more of a mid-century design, yeah.
Barclay, he was an Art Deco designer. McClellan
Mm-hmm.
Barclay was his name. He was an Art Deco designer and he was a artist and sculpture artist. Um, he worked as an illustrator for the Cosmopatala, whatever. Man, I cannot.
Cosmopolitan.
There you go. I cannot read today. And Good Housekeeping, creating military recruit posters. So this guy went from creating military recruit posters to making Art Deco jewelry.
Wow.
How interesting is that?
Pretty interesting.
One of the brands I've heard about it, but I'd never really known about it is Bogoff. Have you heard of Bogoff?
Yes, I've had some pieces made by Bogoff. Usually the ones I had were silver tone with rhinestones.
Yeah, Bogoff was the third in the 1950s. It was the third largest costume jewelry manufacturer after Trifari and Coro. Interesting, because I've heard of the brand, but I don't think I've ever had any other pieces before. So, we got another question. Does all types of costume jewelry, for example, rings, necklaces, brooches, rings, sell good? What type sells the best? What type doesn't sell well?
You go for that, Brandon.
In my opinion, I think that it's a tough one. I think brooches and rings sell the best. What doesn't sell the best for me anyway is probably necklaces and watches. Those are probably the two things that don't sell the best for me. Um, Bracelets are in the middle. They're some people like them, some people don't. Just depends. What do you think?
Yeah, that's about right. Of course, you would spend more when you're outsourcing if you know you can get more money for something. Like, I won't spend as much on bracelets and necklaces. I'll spend more on brooches and rings. Anything will sell if you sell it cheap enough, but you have to earn a living and make an income, so you have to be careful how you source, and knowing your audience, knowing what they'll buy, that helps.
Yeah. Do you ever sell mystery jars? Someone says
Oh, yes.
they snatch them up on Poshmark fast.
Yep, I like selling jewelry lots like that. Like, I'll put together 50 to 100 necklaces and offer it up really cheap. I'll put together the same, like 50 bracelets. Sometimes I'll do a mixed lot, all kinds of costume jewelry, container. Yeah, really cheap. I have a lot of those at Memory Lane and Valley Junction in West Des Moines and other places too. I like putting them together too. And there's a lot of crafty people out there that will make all kinds of nice things with bits and pieces of costume jewelry.
I think you interpret the question a little wrong. We're talking about mystery jars, meaning they can't see the pieces. They don't know what. So like if you list a mystery jar on Macari, I know you can't use the word mystery on Macari or else they like block you or something.
Yeah, Macari's pretty strict.
But
you can't say mystery, you can't say grab bag.
No, I know, but so if you, for example, listed something online and called it mystery and you took like a prop picture, so it's not the picture of the jewelry you're getting, but it's just like a mystery photo. Do you sell those? Like, do you ship something out to somebody because they bought a mystery lot and they don't know what's in it? That's the question.
Haven't done that exactly just yet. I've done similar things. So far, I like people to see what they're buying, so that they know what they're getting. But I mean, that's a possibility for the future.
I don't really do mystery lots myself. if someone on the YouTube auction wanted a mystery lot, I could do it, but I don't really do them online because I don't want to get a negative feedback if they don't like the jewelry.
Yeah.
I'll put in great jewelry, but if they think it's horrible and they'll leave you a negative feedback, it's not worth my time and my effort to put a mystery bag together
Yep.
like that. They said, but like a mystery jar that shows the jar so they get a sneak peek. So yeah, that's kind of what my mom was talking about with her craft bags that she does. Well, I do craft bags, you do craft jars, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and like they might see the part that's visible, but they might not see everything in it, but they'll get a good idea what to expect.
Yeah. Someone on YouTube said, I never buy mystery myself. I want to see what I am getting.
Yes.
Totally understand that. And as a reseller, I do too. Let's see. What is the next one?
Of course, when we get big boxes on Goodwill, 90% of that's a mystery because we can only see what they're showing on Goodwill.
Yeah. Well, normally on the Goodwill things, they only take like 5 photos maybe at the most. Some Goodwills take more, some take less. But I've noticed when Goodwills take photos, you have to like squint your eyes and look at the box because they won't take pictures of what's underneath. They'll only just take pictures of what's on top.
Yeah.
And I've had that happen before recently where I bought a Goodwill box and I got it shipped here. And when all I saw was the top layer. I didn't see anything below. I just saw the top layer. And they shipped it in gallon bags. And I was going through the gallon bags and all of a sudden I get to the bottom of this gallon bag and there's a 14 karat gold necklace just sitting right there. I could not believe my eyes. It was amazing. It was crazy. That just happened like a couple weeks ago too. Oh, here's a good question. I'll answer this one first, then we'll see what you think. Have you ever sourced from Salvation Army online? I have bought one thing from Salvation Army online, and people in the YouTube chat can probably guess it, but I bought a vintage enamel flower brooch and earring set. It was cheap enough, so I was like, heck, I'm gonna buy it. The Salvation Army, I think it's just like a Goodwill, but it is a little more expensive, I think. Because most of the Salvation Armies that are on there are from California, and it's just those prices are ridiculous. Again, what do you think?
Yeah, I have never bought anything online on Salvation Army. I've looked, but I thought some of the prices and the bidding is way too high for me to buy to be able to offer decent prices to my customers. I don't want to overprice things. I want my customers to come back and remember me as someone that sells things that have good quality at a reasonable price. I don't want to double my prices or anything because I spent too much for something.
Okay, this next question, there's 2 ways to go about this, so I'm going to have you answer this one first. What is the average cost of the Goodwill boxes?
Average cost? Well, it varies. I mean, I bought one box for $140. I went back to the same Goodwill online and bought the second box for like $82. And there's only like a 2-pound difference between the boxes. Depends who's bidding, what's in it, and what I think it's worth, what I can get for it. So I usually like if you can get a Goodwill box online, say a 10-pound box for $50 or less, you're doing good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the reason why
you have to pay shipping too most of the time.
Yeah, unless if you can pick it up at your Goodwill. But
yeah.
The way I think of it, there's 2 ways to think of the average cost. So on shopgoodwill.com, there is a whole bunch of Goodwill boxes you can look at, and the prices range anywhere from $10, all the way up to like the highest one I ever saw was like $5,000, but that was for like a bunch of gold. So I mean, the prices will vary. It just depends on how much the poundage is and what's in the box. But the other way to think about this, if you go to blueboxgoodwill.com, I think that's the website name. Blue Box, basically Goodwill started this program called Blue Box where it's a bunch of mystery boxes. So kind of like the mystery jars we were talking about. They fill up these 5-pound boxes with jewelry, and
Uh-huh.
the buy it now price for everybody, what was it, 35?
Yeah, it was yeah, and then you pay $5 shipping, like $34.99, $5 shipping.
Yeah, so it's about $40 a box for 5 pounds of jewelry, which it's a hit or miss. To be honest with me, I think it's a hit or miss. I'm not a big fan of blue box because the last blue boxes we got were pretty not that good.
Yeah, I don't think they put the best things in the blue boxes, and they just changed their name. It's called Buy Blue Box, BUY, Buy Blue Box, and they have other things besides jewelry. And I just purchased what they call a plush box, 10-pound plush box filled with plush animals and all kinds of plush toys. So I'm gonna get that in a day or two, and I don't know what's gonna be in it, but I'm excited and curious to find out. I've never got one of those before, and I think those are $19.99 plus $5 shipping. So I'll give that a try. I wasn't too thrilled about the jewelry boxes, so I don't think I'll buy any of those anymore on Blue Box, but I'll try the plush. I have much better luck buying jewelry boxes on the regular Goodwill online.
Yeah, the one story I want to say really quick about the blue box is the first time we ever bought jewelry boxes on the Goodwill Blue Box. I remember they came and there was nothing good. I mean, there was just, beads and little stones and just nothing good to sell. I mean, there was like a couple dollar items, but most of them were just grab bag items. But the one thing that made me kind of mad and confused at the same time was when we complained about the bad boxes because we got 2 of them, and when they arrived, they were pretty bad. They were pretty horrible. Goodwill complimentary sent us another. What was it, 1 or 2?
I think
they sent us a complimentary one, so we got a 3rd box. That 3rd box had a bunch of crap at the bottom, but on the top had like some of the best vintage stuff that I've seen in a while. What confused me about that, and what I really didn't care for, was that I think the Goodwill Blue Box purposely put those pieces on top so they'll make you buy it again. I think in my mind that, oh, they're like, oh, we messed up on these boxes, let's not mess up again, let's purposely put this stuff up so they can be another repeating customer. In my mind, that's what I think happened, and I didn't really care for that. But oh well, that's my rant on Blue Box. If there's any other questions, you can put them in the chat. There's only a couple more minutes left that we are on. So, what you got going on this weekend, if anything?
This weekend, oh my goodness! Well, Sunday afternoon, I'm going to be live on YouTube on Westside Gary's channel. He has a special Toys for Tots-a-thon where you get to donate something to Toys for Tots and people can bid that up, and then you get to sell a few things in addition to that. And there's going to be like 40 different sellers on 2 different channels selling things and donating things to Toys for Tots.
Perfect. For the local people here, don't forget, if you want to check out, you can go to Junk Jubilee. That is happening at the 4-H building at the Iowa State Fairgrounds from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I don't have the hours pulled up, so I can't really tell you the hours, but I know it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think that's about it. So without further ado, thank you to all the listeners for listening to 88.9 KSTM, the Reseller Show. We will be back next Thursday, and we will see you guys later. Bye, everyone.
Oh, it's so sexy, y'all.
I don't know.